the Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.
Welcome to Reedy, Set, Grow, the podcast that inspires you to grow into the person you are meant to be. I'm your host, Trish Reedy. I'm a local mortgage lender, and I love our Kansas City community and the people in it. So I am here bringing you stories of people that I have gotten to know and asking them to share their inspirational message with all of you. Our guest today is Crystal Webster. Crystal is the Chief Solace Officer of Sharing Solace. She's got a really interesting tug at your heartstrings story that I'm really excited that she will share with you today. Close to my heart as well. And I'm so glad that you are here and that you have chosen to share such a personal story with so many people.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
This is fun. This is like legit
right?
Fun.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, how Sharing Solace was started.
Okay. Well, it really started 10 years ago. May 19th, 2010, my beautiful daughter, Madeline Elizabeth, came into the world. And 8 hours later, on May 20th, 2010, she died in my arms. We later found out it was a genetic condition that I had and passed on to her, which made it impossible for her to sustain her own life and would more than likely make it impossible for any of her siblings to be able to survive as well. So I took that as a sign from the universe. And I'm a child of the 80s, so try hard enough and you can make anything happen. So we tried in vitro fertilization, IVF, 3 times, got some science involved. And to this day, Madeline is our one and only child up in heaven.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm going to just let that sink in for a minute. I don't know if any of you listening have ever lost a child. I would never wish that on anyone. No. I
tell people, welcome to the worst club you never want to be a part of.
Yes. And I remember when you told me that. I like to think I'm a little bit of a part of Crystal's story. When we lost a baby at 24 weeks, and I had to deliver her. And I remember sitting on our back patio, and I called Crystal, and I was like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? I feel so guilty. And I feel like there was a little bit of this that started way back then before you even really started your company, because you were such a comfort to me. And knowing that someone else has had a similar experience, even though they're vastly different, a similar experience just makes you feel not so alone.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think when you asked, what do you do? How do I do? I think I said, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't. Even as someone that's been through it, you don't know what to say and you don't know what to do. You just take it minute by minute.
Right. And there are a lot of people that really don't know what to say. They really say the wrong things. They come from a good place. But, oh man, I'm sure you've heard some doozies.
Oh, yes. I sure have.
Yeah. Any you're willing to share?
Probably my all-time favorite. I say favorite in quotes. I was talking to a complete stranger, or someone that I'd seen in passing. I'm not even sure I knew their name, but you recognize faces or whatever. And somehow she started talking to me, and I was like, I'm trying to work here. Can you? She was like, nope, we're gonna talk. And at the end of the conversation for me, she was pressing me on how many kids do I have, and lady, I have 1 kid. She's dead.
Ooh. And
so she asked more. And I was like, normally you say dead and they're done.
Yeah.
And I don't do that all the time.
Sure.
But if you, I try to be polite. I try to be politically correct. I try to steer the subject somewhere else. But if you are going to push, I'm going to push back kind of thing. And so then she went into, what happened and why and this and that and how old and I told her, she was 8 hours old when she died. And she looks at me straight in the eyes and says, well, at least you never got to know her.
Oh. Wow.
And my brain shut off and I was done. I think she kept talking for another 20 minutes. I couldn't have told you what she said. But I mean, my Madeline had personality.
Well, I'm sure.
Even from the get-go.
Well, yeah, still in your belly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You get to know that little one.
Yes. And I'm sure that she meant it in a authentic, helpful way.
We hope.
I hope.
Yeah.
I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
That is not helpful.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to hear those words come out of anybody's mouth for any reason. So that's probably my favorite of the things you shouldn't say to people.
Oh, gosh. So you took this unspeakable, unimaginable tragedy with a broken heart and turned it into something that helps other people. So tell us a little bit about how that happened and a little bit about what you're doing now.
So about 5 years after I lost Madeline, so we had, Madeline had died, she was gone. We'd gone through in vitro fertilization. We'd come to the realization that biological children were not in our future. That's a lot of grief in and of itself, too.
Oh, my gosh.
Growing up, especially in the Midwest, you're like, oh, well, you go to college and you get married and you buy a house and then you have babies and,
Yeah.
So whether or not that's what you actually want, that's kind of what you're trained to want.
Right.
And so I had to really wrestle with myself and say, is this really what I want? Is this how I make my mark in the world? And that was, it took me a full 5 years
to get to that.
To even get to the point that I could start having those conversations with myself.
Right.
And it was almost 5 years to the day of Madeline's birthday. And this idea hit me like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah.
And I really think that it was Madeline up there saying, okay, Mom, this is what we're doing now.
Right.
This is how we're going to help other people. You've been put here to do this. And so I pretty much dropped everything and started working.
Yeah.
It didn't have a name. It just had this feeling and this hope around it. And so that's where Sharing Solace came from. And we've kind of, I don't even want to say transitioned. We've expanded our basket of support,
right?
I guess.
Right.
So we started with our necklace.
Which you're wearing,
Which I'm wearing, yes, because I never not wear it.
Yes.
But it's all about, it's tangible gifts that are wrapped in a community of love and support that are intended to help you to feel less alone and less isolated.
Right.
Because you do. We've been through exactly the same yet very uniquely different situation.
Right.
And we still felt so alone.
Absolutely.
Even while we were on the phone together.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Well, infertility and miscarriage and stillbirth, those are all very taboo subjects.
Yes.
You have something like this happen to you, and when you have the courage to share it, you find out all of a sudden that there's 10 other people that you know that had something similar happen, but you never knew before.
Right, because nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah. Who does want to talk?
Yeah.
It's not pleasant,
No.
right? But if we don't come together and build that community, we stay so isolated and alone.
And we feel like our feelings are wrong and bad. And they foster and they just kind of eat each other. They eat on each other and
they fester.
Yes.
Ugh. Yeah. So you started with the necklace.
Yep.
Tell us about
necklace. So I'm wearing the necklace. The idea is that you keep it how I'm wearing it as whole for as long as it brings you comfort. And at some point in time, it won't bring you that same comfort. That's the nature of grief.
Right.
At that point in time, you actually take out the middle token, put that middle token into a new locket, and you pay that new locket forward onto somebody else you know that needs love and support as they go along their own grief journey. Then you keep the outer locket that you've been wearing the whole time as a reminder you're still a whole person. You're just always going to have a little hole.
Yeah.
And the tokens, the middle tokens have a unique identifier on them that allow you to register it on our website so you can actually follow it as it moves from person to person. which I think
So you can see the journey.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And you can share your story if you choose to. You don't have to. It's more about having, a touchstone to hold on to, because I'm a pearl clutcher and always have been. And so I touch it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be okay.
Right.
And then also having a visual representation of there are other people that have been there, done that, wear the T-shirt, that want to support you.
Yeah, I wear a ring. I was given a ring that has my Ellen's name etched into it. And this is before your company existed, or I'm sure somebody would have given me your necklace. But I wear it every day. And it was given to me by a mom who had also lost a baby.
Yep.
And I have a cousin who lost a baby after me, and I sent her a ring. It's exactly the same thing. It's, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I'm here with you, and I know what you're feeling, or at least I can really understand as well as another person can understand someone else's feelings. And I think that is such a great thing that you're doing, and I'm sure it's bringing a lot of people a lot of comfort.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So then you branched out a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay. Tell us about the next step.
So then, I had this thing and I wanted people to know about it. So I started telling people and sharing my story. And they're like, well, how do you get to there? I was like, well, you hit rock bottom first. But here were kind of like the steps that I did, I think, that worked for me. And that was a journal. I started journaling, because they say, oh, you should journal and this is why, and do this and do that. And, and I didn't want to do any of those things. So I basically took what worked for me and turned it into a journal.
Right.
So I can be like, here's
the journal. I did what you said.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the necklace was my daughter's 8th birthday present, what I gave her for her 8th birthday. The journal was her 9th birthday present. And then this year for her 10th birthday, I wrote her a book.
I love it.
And
as a matter of fact, we have a copy right here.
Yes, we do.
Confessions of a Griever, turning a hot mess into a hot message.
Yep.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So tell us about the book.
So it is a little bit my story because, again, I think that community is important. I tell my story to encourage others to want to share their story as well. So it's a little bit my story, a little bit self-help. So there are pieces in there. There's research, just a little bit of research about ways to help you feel better, maybe ways that you think should help you feel better, but don't.
Right.
But the real cool part, I think, is it is a choose your own, it's gamified in that, remember those books?
Choose your own journey.
Yes,
I loved those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the end of each chapter, you decide where you want to go next. Because that's how grief works.
Right.
It's up and down in a loop-de-loop. You don't
My
go.
journey's not the same as your journey.
Right?
Yeah.
So I read a book on grief that goes from A to Z. So that's how I wrote it. And that's how I love it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, that's great. So do you have any, what was the turning point for you that made you, obviously you're smiling, you're laughing, you're not stuck in that grief right now. How did you get out of it? Because I know it can be so all-encompassing.
Yes. And I think you just need to do what you need to. If you need to get through the second, get through the second. If you need to get through today, get through today. And it's the further away from that event you get, the stronger you become. And so you feel that it becomes easier.
Right.
It didn't become easier. You got stronger.
I think that's a really interesting and important thought. It didn't get easier. You got stronger. There is a whole lot of empowerment in that.
Yes. It's just like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you pick up
muscles.
those 10-pound weights. I used 15s today.
Yeah, girl.
And you do whatever you're going to do with them. And then in a couple weeks, you're like, oh, this is easy.
I'm on to the 20s.
Yeah. The 15s didn't get easier. They didn't get lighter.
Right.
You got stronger. And so they feel easy.
Right.
And so when people say, don't worry, it gets easier, what they really mean is you will find ways to get stronger, and therefore it will feel easier for you.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. I don't like it when people say it gets easier. It doesn't. Or everything happens for a reason.
Oh, that was the worst one for me. Oh.
Everything happens you choose to find a reason.
Interesting. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to choose to find a reason.
Right.
And I understand some people do believe that everything happens for a reason. That's fine.
Maybe that gives them comfort.
If that gives you comfort, that's awesome. It did not bring me comfort. Everything happens. You find the reason brought me more comfort.
Right. Did you ever come to a reason?
Not particularly. I do think the loss of Madeline has made me a better, stronger, more happy, better human being. It really stripped away all of the junk and stuff that you think is important and made you
Right.
realize what really is important. And in some ways, I feel very honored that obviously I was honored to be Madeline's mother and still
course.
am Madeline's mother.
Yes.
I feel very honored to have found that out in my 20s instead of gotten to my 60s or 70s or 80s and realized I'm not happy. Why?
Oh, yeah.
I get to live another 50 years knowing what is important to me.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Wow.
maybe that's my reason.
Yeah. That is not at all where I thought you were going to take it. So I think that's fantastic because, it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
And, the grief of your loss of a child is different than grief of a loss of a parent or a job or
But there's
grief
so
is
many.
grief, right?
Yes, grief is grief in that there are so many similarities between the loss of a job, the loss of a pet, the loss of. Basically, if you lose something you can't get back, you grieve that.
Yeah.
You can grieve things you can get back. And there's so many things that if you choose to extrapolate and see the similarities, they're there. And also, you can have a uniquely your experience.
Yeah.
None of them are exactly the same.
Right.
But you can choose to see the similarities.
Yeah. I like that.
Thanks.
I like that. Well, I want to do a little rapid fire questions for you. This has all been super inspirational. Hopefully we'll continue that with these next few questions.
Oh, dear.
Okay, Crystal, what's your favorite quote?
Oh, that's a good one. Hold on. It's in here.
As a matter of fact,
As a matter
it's in
of
the
fact. I liked it so much I wrote it down.
I love it.
Okay. You either get bitter or you get better. It's that simple. You either take what you've been dealt and allow it to make you a better person, or you allow it to tear you down. The choice does not belong to fate. It belongs to you. That's by Josh Shipp.
Bitter or better?
Bitter or better?
Clearly it's made you better.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you're trying to get pumped up for a day. Got to change your attitude. Maybe you've had a rough one.
Yeah.
What song are you going to turn on? Get you ready.
Ooh. Anything by Bruno Mars
Yeah?
or Justin Timberlake,
Oh,
because
oh my gosh.
I love him.
Yeah. JT.
JT.
Right here. Yeah.
My song of the day, though, and it's not like me to, it's a 5 Finger Death Punch song.
Oh.
It's called Little Bit Off. And it's just, I'm a little bit off today.
Uh-huh.
Don't really know why. I think they wrote it about the pandemic.
Sure.
But then it's just kind of like I'm off, and that's okay sometimes. And there's a couple expletives in there that just like.
You don't like the expletives at all, I know.
No, not at all.
Read page 1 of the book and you'll realize that's sarcasm.
I prefer artfully crafted 4-letter words.
So maybe that's your favorite quote. No,
Yes.
just kidding. Okay, what's the one accomplishment you're most proud of?
Oh, Madeline.
Of course, we knew she was going to say
I mean,
that. As she should.
and probably the book because it was for Madeline.
Yeah, that's great. What 2 things are on your bucket list that you have yet to check off?
New Year's Eve in Times Square.
Ooh, yeah.
In a
Not this
hotel-
year, obviously.
Yeah, no, probably not for a while.
Yeah.
I don't actually want to be I want to be in a hotel room.
Okay.
Overlooking Times Square, where it can be warm and use the potty when necessary.
Yes, clearly she's a mom. She just said potty.
Yes.
Okay, so New Year's in Times Square.
New Year's in Times Square, and I would love to RV the nation.
Ooh.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Take the potty with you.
Take the potty.
To continue the theme.
I'm all about having a potty close by.
Oh, man. Okay, last question. Okay. Finish this sentence. I am most inspired by
the people that share their stories with me.
Ah. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to share your story, especially one like yours that is so personal and so emotional and often raw and real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real life. I am very impressed by what you have done with the cards you've been dealt. And, you know, I'm proud to know you and call you a friend. Oh, it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for being on our show today. This was a lot of fun to talk with you, even about such a serious topic. It's okay to still have fun with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Life will make you laugh or it'll make you cry. You might as well laugh once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one of my quotes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope that Crystal inspired you to grow into the person you are meant to be. I'm Trish Reedy, your local mortgage lender. This was Reedy, Set, Grow.
The Reedy, Set, Grow podcast with Trish Reedy.